What do Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, US soccer player Megan Rapinoe and Swedish teen Greta Thunberg have in common? Well, apart from being rageous leftist activists, all three have made the BBC's list of the 100 most inspiring and influential women in the world. The BBC asks, what would the future look like if it were driven by women? Well, Daisy, I would suggest that depends on the women. Do these simpletons think that AOC's worldview is the same as Margaret Thatcher because they share the same gender?
Oh, God, you know, Rita, this identity politics when it comes to particularly women is just, well, look, it makes no logical sense. As you imagine, of course, there's no way that Greta Thunberg has the same outlook on the world as Margaret Thatcher, not even close. And that's not because Margaret Thatcher is some sort of different species. It means she's just a different person. And I always find it so odd, well, not so odd, it's to be expected that on these lists of, you know, influential women, etc., there never seem to be any really openly conservative activists there. Like, there are no sort of free speech activists or religious freedom activists, at least certainly not when it comes to Western women. All the women from the West on those lists tend to be really ragingly left-wing feminists or climate change activists. And it's like the sort of beliefs that conservative women have aren't associated with the beliefs of real women. And I certainly on Twitter, I see these strange women saying to me, "You're not an actual woman, Daisy." And I'm like, well, what am I? I'm not an alien. You know, the things that people do are not
Daisy,
really
are you being misgendered? You do know that's an actual offence on Twitter.
Well, it is. I should have reported them. I should have reported them. But look, you know, the things that Greta does not because she's a woman. She does it because she's Greta. The things that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez does, she doesn't do because she's a woman. She does it because that's her personality. Do you see what I mean? It's this identity politics that is so shallow and speaks nothing to the individual, of individual passions, of individual reasoning, of individual beliefs, which is what makes us so wonderful. I mean, men could do the same things as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez because they have the same opinions as her. And I just think we should bring back the cult of the individual because that's what's really interesting.
Well, I mean, that is the whole point of identity politics, which is reducing people to attributes that they actually have no control over, whether it's their gender, whether it's their race, the religion they were born into, or their ethnicity, or their sexual orientation, things that you've got absolutely no control over are what defines you.
Well, and as Daisy said, they revoke your woman card if you don't toe the woman line, and that's where the real damage of identity politics comes in. Look, I don't care what their gender is. If the future of the free world belongs to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Greta Thunberg, I want out. I don't like identity politics, I don't like gender politics, but I thought, why fight it? And I thought it'd be a great idea to actually crowdsource from my colleagues at the IPA a source of our inspiring women.
Oh.
So we have Queen Victoria, Margaret Thatcher, of course, Nikki Haley, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Amanda Stoker and Nicole Flint in the Parliament.
Good.
Jacinta Price, of course, Ayaan Hirsi Ali, and, of course, a good chunk of that lineup, of the evening lineup on that terrible, terrible misogynistic Sky News. But as I said, you get your woman card revoked, so you don't count, Rita.
That list I love, and I just can't believe it. Like, we saw with Meghan doing her, was it a Vogue cover, and she had the inspiring women who were all, you know, far-left activists, mates of hers. But you would think BBC would have a more diverse and inclusive view. Yeah, maybe I'm being delusional.
Have you watched the ABC in this country? But, yeah, no, look...
But not, you know, not even to have people who are, say... you know, the people fighting the hijab laws, or the ex-Muslims who have their lives threatened, those women, but they're helping other women escape who are living under terrible conditions in 2019. You would think, you know, there would be some concession to the unwoke, but no, it is... And exactly as you'd expect.
The other damaging thing as well, you cannot criticise any of these women sometimes for their opinions, because if you do, it's the same thing with Greta Thunberg and her age or a disability. Oh, how dare you gang up on a woman? How dare you criticise? By using that as the battering ram, they're inoculating themselves from criticism, and that is not how free debate should be run.
And it doesn't work if you're a conservative woman, because then they'll actually use your gender against you,
Correct.
never mind it being a shield.